Hi, this is Rick Savitsky from Chortek. In this video, I'm going to walk you through examples of how we help our manufacturing customers use modern data analytics tools to help them understand their data and to do what-if planning. And specifically, I'm going to focus on how can we model the potential impact of tariffs using real data to make wise decisions. In April 2025, when I'm making this is a very hot topic. Our team is actively working on predicting the future. We haven't nailed that yet, but we have been able to help our customers use analytics tools to minimize the time they spend in spreadsheets, doing blanket calculations on costing information, and instead use tools to help them really focus on where the biggest potential impact on tariffs would be on their cost and potential price increases. So I'm going to walk you through examples, and I'm going to have a slide at the very end as you walk through this and watch with me here. If you have questions and you're wondering how or would like help with this, please do reach out. We'd love to talk to you. So I'm going to begin with showing Fathom. Fathom is a financial business analytics tool specifically designed for financials. It's pulling from the general ledger, and we're getting revenue, gross profit percentage, and very importantly here, fixed and variable costs based on how our cost structure and chart of accounts is classified. And what it allows me to do is see, well, based on my variable costs, if we increased revenue, what would fall to the bottom line? But specifically, we're going to focus on, well, what if our variable cost changes because of tariffs? And I can use this goal-seeking tool to solve for a change. So I'm going to start really simple example. I'll blow my screen up in a second. But just to set the stage, if I have a 10% overall increase in my variable costs because of blended tariffs, it's showing me how much exactly I would need to increase my prices overall to maintain the same gross profit for the given month or quarter or annually. And so it's showing me I would need to go up to 5.32%, and then I would maintain parity, or again, equilibrium with my gross profit. And I can go in and change. If I have a different assumed gross profit percentage, make this a little bit bigger here on the screen. If I say go up to 15%, it shows I'd need to have a roughly 8% increase in cost. If I feel I can only pass on a 5%, it's showing me the difference we would need to achieve, our sales team, our estimating team, would need to achieve by increasing our volume to again get up to parity. So far so good. Well, the question here is, where are we getting this percentage increase to change of my variable costs? And that's where Power BI comes in. I'm going to set the stage here and explain. There's a lot of information on the page on purpose to make it useful, not just for management, but for estimating, for purchasing, to all look at the same data and be able to drill down into the details. Here's the premise. We are looking at real manufacturing data. The data set's slightly different than what I was using in Fathom there, but it's pretty similar as far as cost structure. And we're looking at real jobs that completed over really any time period. I could go back over a year and a half. I could go the last 12 months. I'm going to look at the last 3 months, so relatively recent data. And this manufacturing company ran 2,600 jobs. What I'm able to do using Power BI is we can show our actual data. In the chart there, we've got our total revenue and our total profit. But we can also have an adjusted profit. We can take the actual part by part raw material that went into the real jobs that ran over that time period and apply a factor to get a what-if cost, an adjusted cost. So we've got a little table where we went in. I'm hiding some of the data here. We have a 10%, 24%, and a 40% potential increase in tariff. The point here is it's not across the board. And based on all our raw materials that fall into these product categories, and we could have 10, 15, whatever, we're able to be very precise. And maybe it's because we source some parts from one country and different parts from a different country. And so what we're able to do is Power BI is able to transform all of the costing data that actually happened down to the customer and down to the part so that we can see, well, where's the biggest impact? So we've got a dial here. Oh, let me just make this a little bit bigger. And we're able to see our actual profit, our adjusted gross profit percentage, and then what's the delta, what's the change. So this is over the entire 3-month period. On the side here, I have a tree map, kind of like a variation of a pie chart. And the bigger the rectangle, the larger the gross profit dollar. But the color, the darker the green, is the higher gross profit margin. So dark green is more profitable than light green. What I'm able to do then is if I click on it, I'm able to see, well, for that particular customer, over that particular time period, what was the actual gross profit for real? We can tie this all the way down to the invoices, the financials, and so on. What would the gross profit have been if we had tariffs in place for the parts that we consumed to make what we sold to the customer? And then again, what's that delta? So in this case, the data is pretty interesting because as I click through, it's not, of course, uniform. Those two are pretty similar, 8-9%, but in this case, this customer has a much bigger impact on profitability because of the mix of raw materials going into the products for the 167 jobs over that 3 months. We can drill much, much deeper. We can get to a list of actual parts, and job by job, we can see quantity, actual profit, adjusted, and then again this delta in the profit dollar, and then percentage. And notice they're not all the same. So some parts are more impacted by potential tariffs than others. Some examples that are even easier to spot, and that's where Power BI can really help with analysis. Here's just 2 examples, 2 different parts over the same time period. One had a much bigger impact because of potential tariffs than the other one did. And we could drill even further all the way down to the actual job ticket. We could see the exact consumption of parts and labor that went into that profitability. So I'm going to pause for a second. So what do we kind of do with this? Well, we're going to go back to our goal seeker in Fathom. And again, we're going to reset it and go back, and based on that example, it's not just across the board increase, but we can be very, very particular and model, well, what if for a particular customer, what would we need to change? And even ideally part by part so that our quoting and estimating and procurement knows how can we very particularly go about finding the biggest exceptions and coming up with a plan. And so that we're not doing an across-the-board change. And we can, of course, we don't just have to assume parity. We can say, well, let's say I'm trying to increase my overall gross profit, and then it shows, hey, we've got some more work to do. If we have an overall blended increase in tariff costs of 11%, but if I can reduce my other costs by, say, 3%, 8% overall improvement, if I think I can only pass on, in average, say 6% of cost price increase, how much would I need my sales team and estimating team to work on new business, either from existing customers or from potential customers? And that's where we get back to using our operational data. We can do that very same analysis that I was doing here by our A customers, our B customers, our C customers, and be very, very precise about how we go about looking for potential increase in our prices. And again, finally, why are we using a tool called Fathom? Well, Fathom also lets us get even more predictive into the future with a planned what would our profitability be by doing a dynamic forecast based on drivers, some of which can come from Power BI, others we have percentages that we make, we look at historical data, so we can get a quarterly, annual, monthly, up to 5 months into the year financial forecast that allows us to solve for or proof of cash, overall profitability, all the way down to the balance sheet, so that we can really do some detailed financial planning and make wise decisions. So to recap, we're showing how we can use both Fathom to do goal seeking and solving. We can use Power BI to get real detailed information, but also transform that data which we're not changing in the ERP system, but we're changing how we're pulling and analyzing the existing data with some assumed increases because of tariffs. And then ideally, we're going to rinse and repeat. We're going to go through that process interactively. And again, trying to avoid living in spreadsheets, which get stale, they get broken pretty easily, and have our focus on what potential changes would we do with purchasing, procurement, and or pricing. If this is of interest, we'd love to help you. We do managed data analytics for our customers, where we're setting this all up, we're maintaining it, and we're making sure that you're getting good information out of the analytics. We can help our customers actually interpret it and work with the underlying data and give some guidance externally, and also help you implement. So if this is of interest, please reach out. If this video is helpful, please like it, share it with someone else that would benefit. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks a lot. Bye.